We just sing it together, this is small Bhajan.
Vasan prasadanta sahaja valabhadrena balina subhadra majasta sakala sura seva vasarado Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Kripa Paravasa Jala Jala Rashre Vani Ramasu Ramalapangkarahamukha Surendra Raja Shrutigana Shikha Gita Charito Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Ratarudho Gachan Pata Milita Bhureva Patala Stuti Gadu Bhavam Patipadanubha Daya Sindhu Bandhu Sakala Jagatam Sindhu Sutaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Param Brahma Pida Kubalaya Dalot Pulanayano Nivasini Ladroni Itacharando Nanta Shirasi Rasanandi Radha Sarasava Puralingana Suko Jagannatha Swami Nayana Bhaktagami Bhavatu Me Navaya Chirajam Nachakana Kamanikya Vibhavam Naya Cheham Ramyam Sakala Varavadum Sarakale Brahmatra Jagannatha Swami Nayana Bhaktagami Bhavatu Me Haratvang Samsaram Nutat Haram Asaram Surabhate Haratvam papanam vitatim apara haravate ahodine nate nitacharano nischitamidam Jagannatha Swami Nayana Bhaktagami Bhavatu Me. Jai Jagannath. I'm just going to read one, the sort of most relevant one for Ratha Yatra. As the Lord mounts his Ratha Yatra cart and parades along the road, there is a constant accompaniment of loud prayers and songs chanted by large assemblies of saintly brahmanas. Hearing their hymns, Lord Jagannath is favorably disposed towards them. He is an ocean of mercy and is the true friend of all the worlds. May that Lord of the universe, along with his consort Lakshmi, who was born from the ocean of nectar, kindly become visible unto me. Thank you, Daksha. We won't read the whole translation because it's very long and there's so much nectar to talk about today. So, Ratha Yatra literally means the festival of the chariots. Ratha means chariot and Yatra means festival. In Jagannath Puri has three names: Shri Kshetra, Purushottam Kshetra, and Jagannath Puri. And this Ratha Yatra is actually mentioned in the Skanda Purana and the Bhavishya Purana. So we know the word Purana means old histories, though they're very old. And the first mention is in the time of Svarupa Manu, which was 150 million years ago. This Ratha Yatra is first mentioned in the scriptures. So this present festival has been going on for over 2,000 years, every single year. I think there were 2 years where it didn't happen. There was some flood or something. But other than that, every year they've had this Ratha Yatra festival. So Lord Jagannath is for everyone. Jagat means universe, Nath, Lord of the universe. Lord Jagannath is for everyone. However, in the Jagannath temple, not everybody can have darshan, unfortunately. Only if you're designated as a Hindu are you able to go into the temple. So any white-bodied devotee is not allowed in the temple. I know Malati got in many years ago, our Malati on the GBC. She put on a white sari, put it over her head, and hobbled along beside a family of Indians and got in there. Saw Lord Jagannath, and then the pandas ran at her with sticks and she had to run out. But she got in. But anyway, even some friends of mine, Fijian-bodied devotees, Indian-bodied, Indian Fijian, and they went there recently, and they tried 2 gates, and they was a little suspicious of them, that they might not be, Indian Hindus, and then someone in the know told them, well, you go to the back gate, you just be very submissive, Hanji, Hanji. So they did that and they got into the temple. But even, they're very strict about it. But Lord Jagannath comes out. He comes out on this day and he comes to take a ride on a beautiful cart so that everybody can have darshan. So that's why it's such a special day. And also he comes with his divine brother and sister, Subhadra and Baladev. So the temple in Jagannath Puri is very opulent, and it represents Dwarka, opulence. And the temple that they take the deities to, at the end of the road, which is about 3 kilometers, I think, is representative of Vrindavan. It's very simple, just a big empty building which they clean very nicely before the Lord comes. And Lord Chaitanya had wonderful pastimes with his devotees cleaning out the Gundicha temple. So the deities are placed on beautifully carved gigantic chariots. And the chariots are specially made every year from special wood, and it's all very traditional. All the markings and carvings and paintings are completely traditional. And they have very vibrant decorations, so they're very beautiful. If you get a chance today to have a look at the Ratha Yatra in Puri, it's amazing to see those carts alone. They're huge. Lord Jagannath's cart's 45 feet, which is like 15 meters. That's the biggest one. It has a name, Nandi Gosha. And Lord Jagannath's cart is vibrant red and yellow hues. Lord Balaram's cart is a little shorter. It's called the Taladvaja. And has deep blue, green and red hues. And Lady Subhadra's is called Deva Dalena, and it's red and black. So all the dimensions have symbolic significance, and the carts represent that divine power and cosmic order. So Lord Jagannath travels first, then Lady Subhadra and Lord Balaram. And millions of eager pilgrims, if you've ever been there, who's been there to Puri for the festival? It's amazing, like every roof is covered with hundreds of heads. People just sit out on the roofs, they sit out on the balconies. The road is a really wide road. Grand Road is really wide, and it's absolutely packed. They always get more than 1 million pilgrims. It's very amazing in this one road. And it's a very ecstatic festival. And if you see the size, Lord Jagannath is huge. And we got to be there 2 years in a row because we were serving in Orissa in Cuttack, collecting for Bhuvaneshwar. So we got to go to the Ratha Yatra in 78 and 79, and it was very amazing. Just they have all these performances that they do on the cart, and especially the deities actually stay out in the night, and then they get dressed and bathed, and you can see them. And Lord Jagannath's eye, I remember one eye could fit 3 of the pandas' heads in that one eye. He's so huge. It's a very wonderful festival to see. So if you pull the Lord's cart, you actually gain his blessings. So that's why people are so eager to pull the cart. And I remember trying to get a little bit of the rope at the end of the Ratha Yatra, and the police, they wouldn't even let the Westerners come near because they were afraid they'd get crushed, because the Indians are so used to big crowds and they have their elbows and so. But trying to get a little bit of rope, when they break up the rope on the end, and in the end I sort of hung around and got a piece of the rope, which I still keep on the altar. So everything to do with Lord Jagannath's Ratha Yatra is very special, and we know that Srila Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj that when at the time of death, your life flashes before you, and you grab onto what you're attached to. So in the case of one who's seen the Ratha Yatra, when that vision of Lord Jagannath comes, then it remains. It doesn't. You don't go on to other things. You keep that vision of Lord Jagannath in your mind. And and also in that first Ratha Yatra, Srila Prabhupada said that, and actually, first Ratha Yatra was in 1967. This just shows how dear Ratha Yatra was to Srila Prabhupada, that first Ratha Yatra was so soon after the movement just got registered in 66. In 67, they'd started the San Francisco temple, and he ordered a Ratha Yatra, just on a flatbed truck. And he had those deities installed in the temple, so it meant so much. And of course then it expanded around the world. So it's because it's such a mercy time. You know, the Lord is in his ecstatic form, that form of Lord Jagannath, and even Balaram and Subhadra is from when they were hearing the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan, and they took on these ecstatic forms. Their limbs went into their bodies, their eyes grew huge, their smile grew huge. So, you know, if you look around at Ratha Yatra, you just see these people and they always look really blissful. It's because they're seeing the form of the Lord in ecstatic bliss. And so he's like giving out so much mercy in Ratha Yatra. And so that's why people are so eager to take part and to pull the Lord. And so Srila Prabhupada, as we know, he held Ratha Yatra along with his father. They bought a cart, a second-hand cart, and painted it and made it beautiful, and a very nice cart, and he had little Jagannath deities on the cart, and he had inspired all the neighbours. The mothers would cook, and their children would take part, and it was a beautiful festival in Calcutta that they held. And so it was very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And I was just listening to a class yesterday where they were mentioning that Jayapataka Maharaj, even though he's sick, he comes and he takes part in the Ratha Yatra right up to the night, even though he may have had all sorts of medical procedures in the day because he's so unwell. And when he was asked, why are you doing this? He said, Srila Prabhupada told me to make Calcutta Ratha Yatra the biggest Ratha Yatra in the whole world. So that's a big ask, because they have tremendous Ratha Yatras all through America and England and Europe. And we had our first one in 1973. We just had one cart. Maybe it was 72, one cart, and then 3 carts. Yes, it was 72, wasn't it? The first one. And 73 was the second one. We had the 3 carts. So, yeah, everybody gets so much mercy when that cart goes by with the Lord having his walk, and the Lord is so pleased, looking about. And of course, in Jagannath Puri, you know, he looks at all the gardens, and you know, it's all very ecstatic. So Lord Chaitanya revealed the meaning of Ratha Yatra. So he's speaking. This is the Madhya 12, 1, 2, 6. There's quite a few verses here where Lord Chaitanya is revealing the inner meaning of Ratha Yatra. So he's speaking to Lord Jagannath, but actually he's speaking in the mood of Radharani. You are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We're meeting again in the same way that we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say that when Radha and Krishna met, it was during a lunar eclipse at Kurukshetra. And because the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they knew that Krishna was going to go for this eclipse, so they were very eager. They hadn't seen Krishna since he left, since he was so young. They spent their whole lives in separation. Now they had an opportunity to see Krishna. So it was a very blissful meeting of the inhabitants of Vrindavan and Krishna and Balaram, there at Kurukshetra. So at some time they were able to get Krishna alone. The gopis were able to get Krishna alone, and this is happening. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. I wish that you will please again appear with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. Kurukshetra is crowded with people, their elephants and horses, and the rattling of chariots. In Vrindavan, however, there were flower garlands, and the humming of the bees and chirping of the birds can be heard. Here at Kurukshetra you're dressed like a royal prince, accompanied by great warriors, but in Vrindavan you appear just like an ordinary cowherd boy, accompanied only by your beautiful flute. Here there is not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. I therefore request you to come to Vrindavan and enjoy pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will be fulfilled. And then he goes on. It is amazing that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavan. And how is it that you have forgotten your father, mother, and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhana Hill, the bank of the Jamuna, and the forest where you enjoy the Rasa Leela dance? Krishna, you are certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You are well behaved, soft-hearted, and merciful. I know that there is not even a tinge of fault to be found in you, yet your mind does not even remember the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This is only my misfortune and nothing else. I do not care for my personal unhappiness, but when I see the morose face of your mother Yashoda and the hearts of all the inhabitants of Vrindavan breaking because of you, I wonder whether you want to kill them all. Is it that you want to enliven them by coming here? Why is it you are simply keeping them alive in a state of suffering? The inhabitants of Vrindavan do not want you dressed like a prince, nor do they want you to associate with great warriors in a different country. They cannot leave the land of Vrindavan, and without your presence, they are all dying. What is their condition to be? My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavan Dham. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavan, and you are very merciful. Please come and let them all live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. After hearing Srimati Radharani's statements, Lord Krishna's love for the inhabitants of Vrindavan was evoked, and his body and mind became very perturbed. After hearing of their love for him, he immediately thought himself to be always indebted to the residents of Vrindavan. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows. My dearest Srimati Radharani, please hear me. I'm speaking the truth. I cry day and night simply upon remembering all you inhabitants of Vrindavan. No one knows how unhappy this makes me. Sri Krishna continued, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham, my mother, father, cowherd boyfriends, and everything else are all my life and soul. And among all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis are my very life and soul. Among the gopis, you, Srimati Radharani, are the chief. Therefore, you are the very life of my life. My dear Srimati Radharani, I'm always subservient to the loving affairs of all of you. I'm under your control only. My separation from you and residence in different places have occurred due to my strong misfortune. You are my most dear, and I know that in my absence you cannot live for a moment. Just to keep you living, I worship Lord Narayan. By his merciful potency, I come to Vrindavan every day to enjoy pastimes with you. I then return to Dwarka Dham. Thus you can always feel my presence in Vrindavan. And I have already killed all the mischievous demons who are enemies of the Yadu dynasty, and I have also killed Kamsa and his allies. However, there are 2 or 4 demons still living. I want to kill them, and after doing so, I shall very soon return to Vrindavan. Please know this for certain. I wish to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the attacks of the enemies, which is why I remain in my kingdom. Otherwise, I'm indifferent to my royal position. Whatever wives, sons, and wealth I maintain in the kingdom are only for the satisfaction of the Yadus. Your loving qualities always attracted me to Vrindavan. Indeed, they will bring me back within 10 or 20 days, and when I return, I shall enjoy both day and night with you and all the inhabitants of Rajabhumi. So, the idea of that Ratha Yatra is the mood of the gopis wishing to take Krishna back with them to Vrindavan. So that's the inner meaning of the Ratha Yatra. Therefore, when we take that rope and pull, we want to pull the Lord into our hearts. We want to take him back to Vrindavan. We want to be in Vrindavan. So it's a kind of a loving mood that you're pulling in. At the same time, we know when you turn around and look at Lord Jagannath with this beautiful ecstatic smile, you feel very happy. It's like a festival of happiness. But that mood is there, that we want Krishna to be in our hearts. We want to take him back to Vrindavan. And this is the gopis' mood. So, and it's described that when Lord Jagannath would see Lord Chaitanya, like when Lord Chaitanya would go into the temple, he'd be like, oh, this is, he would see Lord Jagannath, he'd run to the Lord and he'd say, here is my Prana Vallabha, the Lord of my life. And when Lord Jagannath would see Radharani, because he's in the mood of, when he would see Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya's mood is the mood of Radharani, he would think, oh, here is my beloved Radha. So there's a wonderful, this time when Lord Chaitanya was here and performing this Ratha Yatra was so, so special. And, you know, if you haven't read the pastimes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of the Ratha Yatra and the beautiful dancing and singing in front of the carts and the Lord pushing the cart with his head when it would stop, and there's wonderful pastimes in there for you all to relish if you have the time and the inclination. So that's a quick summary of Ratha Yatra. Okay, so Svarupa Damodara. Svarupa Damodara disappeared on this day, and he was like Lord Chaitanya's second self. Such an exalted soul. I'd like to read some verses about him and then talk a little bit, expand a little bit on his glories. 102. So we're in Madhya 10, 102. Svarupa Damodara. So Svarupa Damodara was an associate of Lord Chaitanya, I think it's going to tell you, in Navadvip. And his name was Purushottam Acharya. And then when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he just became crazy and he went away. He took sannyas. But then he asked permission from his sannyas guru. He came to Jagannath Puri and he remained close with Lord Chaitanya for the rest of the time that Lord Chaitanya had his pastimes. So this is when Svarupa Damodara arrived in Jagannath Puri. Svarupa Damodara also arrived the next day. He was a very intimate friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was an ocean of transcendental mellows. When Svarupa Damodara was residing at Navadvip under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Purushottam Acharya. After seeing that Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, Purushottam Acharya became like a madman and immediately went to Varanasi to take sannyas. At the conclusion of his sannyas, his spiritual master, Chaitanyananda Bharati, ordered him, read Vedanta and teach it to all others. Svarupa Damodara was a great renunciate as well as a great learned scholar. With heart and soul, he took shelter of the Supreme Lord. He was very enthusiastic to worship Sri Krishna without disturbance. Therefore, it was almost in madness that he accepted the sannyas order. Upon accepting sannyas, Purushottamacharya followed the regulative principles by giving up his tuft of hair and sacred thread, but he did not accept the saffron-coloured dress. Although he did not accept the sannyas title, he remained as a Naishtiki brahmachari. After taking permission from his sannyas guru, Svarupa Damodara went to Nilachala and accepted the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then all day and night, in ecstatic love for Krishna, he enjoyed transcendental mellows in the loving service of the Lord. He was the limit of all learned scholarship, but he did not exchange words with anyone. He simply remained in a solitary place, and no one could understand where he was. Sri Svarupa Damodara was the personification of ecstatic love, fully cognizant of the transcendental mellows in relationship with Krishna. He directly represented Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his second expansion. If someone wrote a book or composed verses or songs and wanted to recite them before Lord Chaitanya, Svarupa Damodara would first examine them and then correctly present them. Only then would Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agree to listen. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was never pleased to hear books or verses opposed to the conclusive statements of devotional service. He did not like hearing rasa bas, the overlapping of transcendental mellows. It was the practice for Sri Svarupa Damodara to examine all literatures to find out whether their conclusions were correct. Only then would he allow them to be heard by Lord Chaitanya. He used to read the poems of Vidyapati and Chandidas and Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda. He used to make Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very happy by singing these songs. Svarupa Damodara was as expert a musician as the Gandharvas, and in scriptural discussion he was just like Brihaspati, the priest of the heavenly gods. Therefore, it is to be concluded there was no great personality quite like Svarupa Damodara. He was very dear to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu, and he was the life and soul of the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur. It was Svarupa Damodara who came to Jagannath Puri and fell flat before the lotus feet of the Lord, offering obeisances and reciting a verse. So this verse gets quoted in various scriptures because it's very potent. O ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let there be an awakening of your auspicious mercy, which easily drives away all kinds of material lamentation. By your mercy, everything is made pure and blissful. By your auspicious mercy, quarrels and disagreements arising among different scriptures are vanquished. Your auspicious mercy causes the heart to jubilate by pouring forth transcendental mellows. Your mercy always stimulates devotional service, which is full of joy. You are always glorifying the conjugal love of God. May transcendental bliss be awakened within my heart through your causeless mercy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised Svarupa Damodara to his feet and embraced him. They both became ecstatic in love and fell unconscious. After they both regained their patience, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke. In a dream I saw you were coming, and so this is very auspicious. I have been like a blind man, but your coming has restored my vision. Svarupa said, My dear Lord, please excuse my offense. I gave up your company to go elsewhere, and that was my great mistake. My dear Lord, I do not even possess a trace of love at your lotus feet. If I did, how could I go to another country? I'm therefore a most sinful man. I gave up your company, but you did not give me up. By your merciful rope you have bound me by the neck and brought me back again to your lotus feet. Svarupa Damodara then worshipped the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu embraced him in the ecstasy of love. After worshipping Nityananda Prabhu, Svarupa Damodara met Jagadananda, Mukunda, Shankara and Sarvabhauma as was befitting. He offered his worshipful prayers at the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri, who in return embraced him in ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then gave Svarupa Damodara a residence in a solitary place and ordered one servant to serve him with a supply of water and other necessities. So it's described that Paramananda Puri, his relationship with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was parental. And Ramananda Roy, his relationship was friendship. We know that he is also incarnation of Arjuna. And Gadadhar, Svarupa Damodara and Jagadananda had that conjugal relationship with Lord Chaitanya. So we have the Chaitanya Charitamrita only by the mercy of Svarupa Damodara, because he kept copious notes. Murari Gupta kept notes of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Navadvip, so that allows us to hear the beginning, and there are quite a few books written about Lord Chaitanya's initial pastimes in Navadvip, but the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the only one that actually dives in depth into the pastimes in Jagannath Puri. And that's thanks to Svarupa Damodara, because he kept a diary. He then instructed the person who served him was Raghunath Das. When Raghunath Das came, Lord Chaitanya said, I want you to go under the shelter of Svarupa Damodara. So Svarupa Damodara was looking after him, and he insisted, you must learn all these pastimes. So then Raghunath Das learnt the pastimes. Then he went to Vrindavan. And who did he speak to in Vrindavan every day? Krishnadas Kaviraj. So Krishnadas Kaviraj presented the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's largely due to, it's pretty much due to Svarupa Damodara. Those notes are no longer there, but because Raghunath Das had learned everything meticulously and passed it on to Krishnadas Kaviraj, we have everything intact. So the Chaitanya Bhagavat describes Svarupa Damodara as the incarnation of the delight of song. Because when he would start singing, it would be so captivating to Lord Chaitanya that he would just faint. And then when he finally did come to consciousness again, because Svarupa Damodara would continue that beautiful singing of, apt verses, then Lord Chaitanya would dance and dance. So, what a wonderful soul. He was an expert musician, and he would always match whatever mood of separation because Lord Chaitanya, he's got that bhav of Srimati Radharani. So he's always experiencing these ecstatic moods. And Svarupa Damodara perfectly knew, because he knew the scriptures so well, he perfectly knew what to sing about and recite. So it was kind of like, that's why he's described as Lord Chaitanya's second self, because he was always conscious of what Lord Chaitanya needed to hear or wanted to hear or would be ecstatic to hear. So all day Lord Chaitanya would be out having kirtan, and in the night time he would be with his very intimate devotees, and he would be feeling these ecstatic moods of separation. I mean, if you read about it, it's just like heartbreaking. He'd rub his face along the walls of the Gambhira, or sometimes he'd fall down, his all limbs would elongate, and incredible symptoms. So he had two companions in the night, and they were Svarupa Damodara Prabhu and Ramananda Roy. And they could pacify him. They could augment the things that he was feeling. So they were so expert. It's also described that Svarupa Damodara was very good friends with Pundarik Vijayanidhi. We know that he is Srimati Radharani's father in Krishna's Leela. And when Pundarik Vijayanidhi became upset that time because the cloths, the pujaris, the pandas were offering cloth to Lord Jagannath when it became cold, but they hadn't washed the sort of tapioca out of the cloth. They just presented the cloth. And so Pundarik Vijayanidhi was seeing this. Oh, they didn't wash the cloth, and he was in his mind, he was thinking, those pandas, they didn't wash the Lord's cloth. And then when he went to sleep that night, he suddenly he saw Lord Jagannath and Balaram in their forms of Lord Jagannath and Balaram. And they came up to him and they started slapping his cheeks. Both of them, they were slapping him on the cheeks. And his cheeks became all red. And then they said, how dare you criticize my pandas? So it's described in that story that we shouldn't criticize another person who's doing seva of the Lord. But when Pundarik Vijayanidhi told that story to Svarupa Damodara was so happy for him. He said, oh, you're so fortunate. I'm so happy for you. And another pastime was when Lord Chaitanya was cleaning Gundicha, one Brahmin went up and he got some water and he threw it over Lord Chaitanya's feet, and then he took the water and started drinking it. And Lord Chaitanya got angry because his pastime is that he's a devotee. He didn't want people to start imitating this. So he got angry and he told Svarupa Damodara, you get that Brahmin out of here. So Svarupa Damodara went up and he had to tell that Brahmin to come outside the temple. And, Lord Chaitanya is not happy and you have to come outside. He escorted him out. But then he went straight back inside and he said to Lord Chaitanya, please forgive that Brahmana. So he was so kind. Anyway, that's some of the glories. There's so many nice things about Svarupa Damodara Prabhu. He was there for so many of the different pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. But there's another great soul also to talk about today, Sivananda Sena. So Sivananda Sena was a doctor by profession, and he lived at Kumarahata in West Bengal. He was very humble, he loved Lord Chaitanya, and he was very competent. For example, can't remember which one of Lord Chaitanya's associates, I can't even remember right now who it was, wasn't good at saving money because he was always giving in charity large amounts. Can anyone remember who it is? Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya then asked Sivananda Sena, you please help him look after his finances so that he has some finances, he doesn't give everything away. So he had that confidence in Sivananda Sena because he knew he was very competent. And he tasked him every year when Lord Chaitanya was living in Jagannath Puri, it would take 1 month to walk from from Navadvip to Puri, or near enough. And sometimes it would be a big party because sometimes the wives and children would come. So he had a huge party of people. But he would look after them. He looked after them by making sure they all had prasadam daily. He paid their tolls when they had to cross rivers because, of course, they're Muslim rulers and you had to pay tolls here and there. He provided sleeping, made sure they all had suitable sleeping quarters. And in this way, he did it in a very humble, loving way. So everybody felt very satisfied with him. One time a dog joined in the party, and because that dog sort of took shelter of them, Sivananda Sena was so kind that he would tell them, make sure the dog gets fed. And he took that dog with them, and when they had to get on the boat, and the boatman was like, no dogs, and he would pay extra so that the dog could come. But one day he was detained because he was trying to arrange sleeping quarters for the devotees. It's a big job. I mean, I don't know if any of you have been on Brajmandal Parikram. It's a big job for them, when you get there, everything's set up for you, and you've got a place to stay and everything's organised, prasadam's organised. So that was Sivananda Sena's job. So he was out organising and nobody fed the dog and the dog disappeared. So when Sivananda Sena came, he said, where is that dog? And they said, oh, we don't know, we've got to feed the dog. So he sent all these devotees, go out and find the dog. So everyone's going out and searching for this dog. but the dog could not be found. However, when they arrived in Jagannath Puri, that dog was sitting next to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was scraping the inside of green coconut and feeding it to the dog. And the dog was never seen again after that. Went back to Godhead. So, how kind is Sivananda Sena, and how wonderful are Lord Chaitanya's associates and his pastimes. Okay, there's another pastime of Sivananda Sena. One day when he was late, Lord Nityananda became hungry. Lord Chaitanya had gone on by this time. He went on alone to Puri. But Nityananda Prabhu was hungry. And there was no sign of him. So in the end he said, "Where is Sivananda Sena? I curse his 3 sons to die." And his wife was like stricken and crying and so upset. And when Sivananda Sena returned, she told him what had happened. And he said to his wife, "Let my 3 sons die if it's the desire of Lord Nityananda." And then he went to Lord Nityananda and he apologized, and Lord Nityananda kicked him. And Sivananda Sena became very ecstatic and happy, and then they embraced. So, lovely pastimes amidst these. How wonderful it would be to take these associates of Lord Chaitanya to visit him in Puri. And then, it was Vasudev Datta who was so generous. Vasudev Datta, he was the one that Lord Chaitanya told Svarupa Sena, "You should take charge of his expenses. You should become his accountant because he's not able to save." And also, we know that Raghunath Das went to Puri, escaped finally, and his father would send money to Puri. Now, his father knew that Sivananda Sena took the devotees, so he would give that, he entrusted that money to Sivananda Sena, knowing that it would be passed on. And of course it was, because everybody knew how honest he was. And he would give messages back to the father and uncle each year to say how Raghunath Das was doing. So in Puri, in the Anchalila, there's this little section where Sivananda Sena introduced those 3 sons to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the Lord was so happy because he was so happy with Sivananda Sena's whole family. Like when they went there, he insisted that every day they should get remnants of Lord Jagannath Prasadam, the whole family. So he took care, Lord Chaitanya took care of his devotees there in Puri. And it's described in the Anchalila, "No one can cross over the ocean of Sivananda Sena's good fortune, for the Lord considered Sivananda Sena's whole family as his own." And then there is a story that when he met those sons, he bestowed on them a lot of mercy. And for the youngest son, Paramananda Puri, he actually put his toe in the mouth. He was a baby, the youngest one. He put his divine toe into the mouth of Paramananda Puri. And he's the one that he's written all these books. He's written 10 books. He's written the Gauraganadesha Deepika, and also one about Krishna. So what it does is it tells who in Krishna Leela has come back in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. So he had that divine vision. And where did he get it from? He got it from the nectar of Lord Chaitanya's lotus toe. So this is the grace of the Lord on these pure devotees. We know that Krishna gives himself to the pure devotees. He always feels indebted. A devotee wants to serve. Devotees always want to serve Krishna. That's our constitutional position. But Krishna is so kind and grateful that he wants to he feels like he has a debt to the devotees. So he's always trying to serve the devotees, the pure devotees. There's so many instances in the Srimad Bhagavatam too of this exchange of the feelings of the reciprocation from the Lord, that grateful reciprocation. So our Lord is always very grateful for whatever little service we do, and he never forgets. It's one of his qualities, that Krishna never forgets. So in the same way, there's so many stories also in the Chaitanya Bhagavat where Lord Chaitanya is described by Vrindavan Das Thakur as always trying to reciprocate. Like, for example, when he first met Lord Nityananda, and he just embraced him, and Lord Nityananda was fainting, and Lord Chaitanya was holding him in his lap, and then Vrindavan Das is describing this, because he could see it all in his heart, that Lord Nityananda is who? He's Ananta. He's holding up all the universes. He's serving the Lord in so many ways. But here, Lord Chaitanya has the opportunity to give some service back. So he takes that opportunity. Anyway, there's so many nice examples of this. So we can rest assured that even though our service may be very tiny, that Krishna is grateful because that's his eternal quality, and that he is reciprocating with us. And the stronger that desire grows, the more that desire grows to serve Krishna, then the more his desire to reciprocate grows. It's a transcendental wonder. Yeah. Alrighty, all glories to the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the Ratha Yatra festival. Ki Jai! Hare Krishna.